Take the Black Live, the show, and myself, Dan Selke of winnerscoin.net, and Cheryl Wassenaar of cultures.com. Talk all things Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire, and genre fiction. Cheryl, how are you today?
I'm good, Dan. How are you?
I am 100% well. Because things are going pretty smoothly around here today. Usually we're like scrambling to get to this right after we record Wick Club.
Yeah.
But now things are very calm. But I'm a little kind of thrown off, to be honest with you.
Too chill. It was too chill.
It was. But everyone who's watching, hey Kenny, hey Julie, hey Terry, Kathleen, Michael, Karen, welcome to a discussion of all things Game of Thrones. And our first topic today is going to be Game of Thrones Season 8 at the Emmy Awards. I don't know how much, like the whatever annual Emmy Awards, but I think we're in the 70s.
It might be the late 70s, early 80s. There we go.
Let us know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I know, right? That's what Julie says. It's right on time today. What's with that? I don't know. This is weird. It's weird for us too, Julie.
We don't know what's happening either.
We're very organized today. It's bizarre. Anyway, HBO revealed the submissions it gave to the Emmy Committee, the Television Academy,
Yes.
for what it wants to be considered for Emmy Awards. Not nominations. We should underline that.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know.
It was nominated for a nomination.
Yes, they are nominating for nomination. Good way of putting
Yeah.
it. And I think most of them are pretty, standard. Cinematography, makeup, editing, costumes, all that jazz.
Yeah.
Which I think we can all assume they're just going to sweep.
Yeah.
Probably deservedly. I can't think of any. I mean, no show does production like this.
No.
But let's talk about some of the controversial submissions. The one that stirred up some crap.
Because people are mad online.
Which is, I'll argue, I think, and as usual, I think it's silly. But, okay. So there were a few controversial submissions. Let's go through them. First, outstanding directing for a drama series. They submitted The Long Night, which I think looking back was like an incredibly ambitious, very high level of difficulty mini whiff, because they just didn't land the darkness thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, I see it. Sure, you want to acknowledge that hard work.
Yeah.
The Last of the Starks, kind of an odd one to submit for directing.
Yeah.
Like, not a badly directed episode, but I don't know, not the one you think of like, oh, the directing challenge.
No.
And then The Iron Throne, the finale, which, yeah. I mean, my big thing is here, I would think, if I'm going to name a directing, I'd say The Bells is kind of the one you put in for directing.
Yeah. Like, I think The Long Night and Iron Throne have the two better chances, because I think, though you are right in that Long Night is like this mini whiff, I think just for the degree of difficulty and the decent amount of execution for those who could see what was going on, I think that is something the Academy would reward. But honestly, like, yeah, The Bells, like,
it looks spectacular. I
Like,
mean,
it
and you
is.
can see everything, and it was, I mean, I had problems with it, but directed-wise, it was tremendous to watch.
I think we've said this 1,000, or not maybe 1,000 times, but many, many times, that most of our problems with season 8 were in the writing.
Speaking of. Outstanding writing for a series, they only submitted The Iron Throne, the series finale. I mean, okay, I don't think we did. Okay, if you want. Oh, stop. You stop it.
But it's funny.
It's not funny.
The hubris of it.
See, okay, this is where I'm getting a little annoyed at the discourse.
Trademark.
I feel like I'm going online and seeing like HBO is so arrogant to nominate The Iron Throne for it and not like A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, which is, I think we can all, that pretty much every fan agrees is the best written episode of the season. But I mean, again, I have no idea how these work. I don't think anybody else who's talking about it does either. I don't know if it's like the showrunners are picking it. I doubt it. Yeah. I bet it's like somebody in the HBO marketing department who were cleared to submit the ones written by the showrunners and we want the attention of the finale, is my bet. I really, again, I don't know, and I don't think anybody else knows, except people at HBO, just the way it works. And I'm betting it's a lot less exciting than people are thinking it is.
Okay. But
Yes.
the sheer chutzpah of picking one episode when it was clear that they could submit multiple things for consideration,
Definitely could.
and then to pick that episode, which has a speech that not even Peter Dinklage can sell, is hilarious. Not a great idea, but also just kind of hilarious.
I mean, okay. I mean, again, I'm doubting chutzpah is what's involved.
Seems a little bit like chutzpah.
I mean, again, that's the thing. Like, we don't know.
We don't know, but...
And again, it does... I guess I've been grappling lately with the discourse. With I was talking on the Take That podcast last night about kind of how the reaction to season 8 to me was almost more interesting than the season itself, and like watching it kind of transform and kind of turn into something pretty ugly at times. And the way people just kind of gave the least charitable reading to everything, because I think at some level you want, because hate is fun.
Yeah.
Like, I get that. But I'd also like to fight against that. And, pause for a second and think, is that really the most reasonable thing to say?
When there were interviews with Benioff and Weiss, who, to be fair, may or may not have been involved in this process, but when there were interviews with the two of them where they said, we want people to be debating if this is an A or an A+ finale, I think it is reasonable, if not necessarily charitable, to assume that chutzpah and or hubris are involved slightly in
They've
the
also
submission.
said that they were going to be drunken away from the finale. I mean, what are they going to say? They're going to say that, like, I think everybody's going to hate it.
Well,
of course they're going to talk themselves up.
No, but I think just the level to which they talked themselves and season 8 up. And you and I are familiar with how much hype Game of Thrones got.
Oh, of course.
And in terms of who was doing it and like what they were saying, like we probably could have written the messaging for the actors at this point.
Yeah, we could.
We probably
It rolls off
could.
the tongue, off the fingers.
But it seemed, at least to me, that there was this new level of hype and kind of confidence in Benioff and Weiss that after seeing what they produced kind of seems a little questionable, I guess is the word I'm looking for here. But like this idea that they just picked this one episode, which if it had only been the first half of that episode, I think this might have been less of a laughable reaction. When you get to the second half is the problem. But chutzpah is the word I'm sticking with here. You are not going to get me
Fair
in the
enough.
shit about
I'm going
mine.
to disagree with you.
That's okay.
But we can go ahead with it. Anyway, the other things, Emilia Clarke and Kit Harington for Best Actress and Actor. It didn't work last time
Nope.
when they tried this. Neither of them were nominated. Might it work this time? I don't know. I can maybe see Emilia Clarke breaking in.
Yes. Her over him. She had a lot harder lifting
Not because
to
she did a
do.
bad job, but just, she had a lot more to do.
She had a lot more lifting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe perhaps be feeling charitable. And then, all supporting people. We got Alfie Allen, Pilo Ashbeck, Peter Dinklage, Nikolai Coster-Waldau, Richard Dormer, Best Supporting Actor. And the ones that you feel, why are they there? According to Gold Derby, they submitted themselves.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
Like Dormer and Ashbeck, like stuff, which was like, and they're fine. But
Sure.
I don't think anybody thinks, oh yeah, Barrington Darien, he's the guy.
He's the guy.
To beat.
I just want Coster-Waldau to get his damn Emmy. Like,
See, that's the thing with.
He should have gotten it last season.
He should have, yeah.
So, fix it, Academy. Grrr. Okay.
And Lena Headey should have gotten it for season 5, I think. But she's up for Best Supporting Actress along with Maisie Williams, Sophie Turner, and Gwendolyn Christie. Maybe. I could see Williams or maybe Christie maybe breaking in.
Yeah, I think Williams or Christie has the better chance than Turner. Not that I don't think Sophie Turner is a fantastic actress. But I think when people are going to think of Game of Thrones, like these moments, like you're going to see Maisie Williams killing
in
the
your
Night
mind's
King.
eye.
And you're going to see Gwendolyn Christie's teary face in Night of the Seven Kingdoms. So, and for Turner, like the thing that might come to mind is her coronation scene.
Sure.
But that's a very impassive face, you know, like that's, yeah. So, yeah, that's where I'm at with it.
I mean, and really, we might be giving the voters too much credit because at the end of the day, they just nominate Peter Dinklage anyway. It's just out of habit, and that's what's going to happen again.
I know. You had to bring it up, didn't you?
I mean, we do.
Hurt me in the heart.
It's funny because, like, we're talking about all this and, like, assigning importance to it. I'm not sure the voters assign that much importance to it. I think they just, like, oh, yeah, the drinking no things guy. Yeah, he's fun.
Perfect. All right, what are?
Or, I'm sorry, if you're a voter, I'm sure you think you put a lot of thought into this. And Kenny Thomas says that Lena should get one of her performance for her performance all series. I mean, yeah, I'd be fine with that. I really do wish she had been nominated somewhere along the way and actually won.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, other stuff. HBO and Game of Thrones, specifically HBO in general, hasn't really been at the San Diego Comic-Con for a while. I think Game of Thrones sat the last 2 years out. Westworld sat the last 1 year out. They're both coming back to San Diego Comic-Con this time, which, yeah, that could be potentially awkward, couldn't it? Game of Thrones is going to do a victory lap. They're going to be at this year's San Diego Comic-Con, I think it's next month, right?
Yes.
In the hallowed Hall H, where all the big movers and shakers go to speak for basically a victory lap, I guess, because, I mean, they can't tease on next season anymore. So it's going to be a reflection. I'm sure Rob McElhenney or somebody from Always Sunny in Philadelphia will interview them. He is everywhere, that guy. He was at E3, too, and he, like, did interviews with them before. I just noticed him bumping around conventions. He must love conventions.
Somebody's got to.
A lot of people do.
Yeah.
These are hot ticket items. So they'll all be there. We're not sure who's going to go, but I think Deadline, which is a very reputable industry rag, throw around Amelia Clark, Kit Harington, Sophie Turner, Isaac Hempstead Wright, Missy Williams, Peter Dinklage, Lena Headey, John Bradley, Gwendolyn Christie, and maybe George R.R. Martin, which, if they mention it, I got to think they have heard something. Mm-hmm. So I think that's interesting. I also think it's interesting that they noted that Benioff and Weiss are not expected to be there.
They're still drunk somewhere.
I mean...
That's a joke. I'm not saying that they're actually drinking. Like, they said previously that they were going to be drunk and very far from the internet, and I think maybe they're still...
A good choice, by the way.
Very far from the internet.
Now that you look back at it.
I can't blame them for it.
Any thoughts on the return and how it might play out?
Well, a lot of people are skipping on Hall H this year, so...
Are they?
Yeah, I think Warner Brothers in general is skipping Hall H. Like, somebody big is skipping Hall H this year.
Oh, yeah, I think I did hear about that.
Yeah, so they couldn't get anybody better. Oh, that's terrible.
Better. Come on. Game of Thrones is very, very, very big.
I know, but it's when Hall H has kind of become in the past few years this byword for the big reveals, the things you need to pay attention to at San Diego Comic-Con.
I do have a thought about that.
Can I finish mine
yes,
first?
Yes, of course you can.
Thank you. So, like, that's where you see all the new trailers and all of that stuff. So, for the fact that they're giving a spot in Hall H to a show that is done and concluded, kind of, like, this might not be actually the case, but it kind of reads a little, unless they're going to show from Blood Moon or whatever, or announce what's going on. That's a creepy face. Okay, what?
Okay, first of all, Claudia, am I going to be at Con of Thrones in Nashville? That is the plan, to be at Con of Thrones in Nashville in July. It should be a lot of fun. We have a couple panels.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Here's my idea.
Get it out.
George R.R. Martin doesn't do a lot of press anymore. We've talked recently about how he's been, talking more openly about wins it's going. If I don't finish it by this time, you can lock me up in an acid dungeon in Australia, yada, yada, yada. He's making a video game, which we'll get to in a second.
Yes.
What if, Cheryl, George R.R. Martin goes to San Diego Comic-Con, goes to this Hall H panel to kind of cap off Game of Thrones, and it's there in Hall H that he announces, look what I wrote. It's done. It probably won't happen, but I think that would easily be big enough to qualify as big reveal.
Yes. But like you said, it's probably not going to happen. Probably not going to happen.
I never said the winds of winter is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
People didn't pick it up.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I don't know. But yeah, no, I don't have that much faith in George R. R. Martin anymore. So whatever. I'm sure it will be a very interesting panel. Like, and this, like, I don't mean to sound like I'm knocking the idea of Game of Thrones getting a Hall H panel, everybody. It's more just the idea that, like, it seems tonally odd from what Hall H has become in the past few years. But good for them. I think that, like I said, it'll be very interesting to listen to these people.
Sure.
So
I can defer to you on that because I don't really know much about Hall H as you do. But it seems like it's big enough for me. And if I know I'm going to get my hopes up, but I think that would be quite a reveal.
That's in your
and
nature,
he is
Dan.
there.
He is there. But it's in your nature, Dan.
I suppose so. I'm such a nice person. And the other reason I think about it is because he's doing more projects now. It was
Right.
announced at the Electronic Entertainment Exposition, which is going on right now, that he is...
E3, guys. He's talking about E3.
I am, yes.
Just call
that
it E3.
that George R. R. Martin is working on a game called Elden Ring, a video game from Software. Did you ever play any of those games, by the way? Dark Souls or Sekiro or what's Bloodborne? I think they did.
I don't have a PS4, so no, but I've watched other people play them, and they're very good, and I want to play Bloodborne at some point. And probably Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, because that looked super dope.
I feel that way too. Like they look like they're really important games, and I look
Yeah.
at them, but I'm like, I would waste so much time on them, and I would not get anywhere. But they look really interesting.
I'm too much of a weenie for Dark Souls.
Yeah. But anyway, he's
yes.
consulting on this game. They have his name right in like the title card. A New World from
Hidetaka
Miyazaki
Miyazaki.
and George R. R. Martin. So they know what they're doing. They're selling it. Okay, so I guess the question here is this a, betrayal, travesty, blah, 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 working was a winner, blah, 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 or is it, go ahead and have fun, George R. R. Martin, consult in the game?
I mean, I think, like, because George R. R. Martin doesn't really do video
It's a fun
games,
picture, right?
like,
Severed hand.
I think the idea of him just being a consultant and helping draw up the story, I don't think that's a betrayal or travesty or whatever. I mean, I think it'll be really interesting to see what he and Miyazaki come up with.
Right.
Because Miyazaki has basically, like, created these, directed these bonkers games for the past roughly a decade in particular, is kind of
Right.
when From Software is kind of boomed
Yeah.
into the spotlight. So I think this is going to be really cool and interesting, and I actually want to play it.
Oh, that's good.
Unless I'm too much of a weenie and it's too hard.
I think like all the games are like that for me a bit. All of those, they all look so difficult, but maybe I'll pick them up sometime.
I mean, I play JRPGs for fun, so it's not like I'm not a glutton for punishment in some way. But yeah, I think it's gonna be cool.
Yeah, and I know that those games are very, very lore rich.
Yes.
Like Sekiro, Dark Souls. So, and George R. R. Martin, at the end of the day, what he is best at, I think, is probably world building.
Yes.
Like if he has the skill he can underline. So yeah, I'm sure it'll be an asset. And I mean, like, look, they have his name on the title, but it's not like I doubt he's at the office like doing a workaday job.
No.
Like he could have like written a paragraph of ideas, and they still would have
Put his name on it.
put his name in there because it's a name.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the new season of Big Little Lies, right? So the first season is based entirely on the book, and the first season ends about where the book ends. So
Okay.
Leanne Moriarty wrote, I want to say it's like 170-page novella, and that's what they're basing the second season on. That it did not get published, but that's what they're basing the season on. And I feel like this is probably roughly the same thing.
But Julie says, other opinions. GRM should be embarrassed to be doing this before getting wins out, and maybe. And Claudia says, have to admit, not hyped anymore for the last two GOT books, particularly since JRM says the ending will be similar. We talked about that. We talked about it in the Wit Club, I think so. Or did we do it here?
We've discussed it at some point.
I'm still interested, but yeah, I understand why you might not be if, you know how it ends now. I think it'll be pretty different.
Yeah.
And you know what? Maybe, Julie, to your point, maybe he finished wins. Maybe he's going to announce that at Comic-Con, and then it's going to free up time for some video game fun.
He's not going to let that theory go, guys.
Okay, and finally, before we bring on Josh Hill for a Song of Ben and Josh, a little beyond the wall action. Game of Thrones is over. Yeah, it's over. And among the many series that are coming up to kind of
Fill the
to fill the void that I want to say replace it, but I mean that's not a thing. It's not going to replace Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
But that are going to be worth your time. One of the ones I'm most excited about is his Dark Materials, which is based on Philip Pullman's trilogy, which is just very good and very kind of different. It's not, it's not a medieval fantasy.
Right.
It has like this alternate universe, kind of almost sort of steampunkish England, but not full steampunk or anything. It's just very intriguing. And they just cast a very important character named Will Perry with a young actor called Amir Wilson. And I think we should be paying attention to his Dark Materials and look out for it. He's from the second book. There are 3 books.
Right.
The first one is purely about a character named Lyra Belacqua, I want to say her name is. Did you ever read them? I forget. You hadn't, right?
I've read like the first 50 pages
Okay.
of The Golden Compass, and that's about it.
Right. Yeah, fair enough. So yeah, I'm excited about it. And then he comes into the second book.
Right.
Cast the characters. And Philip Pullman is also writing right now a follow-up trilogy.
Right. There's
I think
the Book of Dust
Yeah.
and all of that stuff.
Like
right.
one book's already out. He's on the second book. So it's a good time to get interested in his Dark Materials. I recommend you read it. They're not long books. They're pretty easy.
Yeah.
And again, all I have to say is HBO, you have 3 seasons of TV in this. If you extend it, it'll be a bad idea. Just make what's there.
Unless you're going to do the sequel series too.
I think like one's a prequel. Actually, the first book and the second one that's coming up is like Lyra at 20. So no, just do the series.
There are some choices being made. Okay.
Well, I mean, it's been like, I don't know how long. It's been a while. It was out in the 90s, I think.
Yeah. They definitely got republished when I was
certainly.
a child.
But yeah.
Because there was that whole movie.
Oh,
that
God,
whole
yeah,
movie.
That happened.
That happened.
No one's thinking about that. But yeah, good series. Armored polar bears, hopping dimensions.
I have heard about the polar bears.
Little animal familiars we all have. Who doesn't like that? Looking forward to it. Any other thoughts, Cheryl, you have about anything at all? We can just wrap a little.
Just gonna go off about everything. No. Yeah, I think it continues to be intriguing to see what gets announced and when for Game of Thrones related things, or even any of the myriad series that are supposed to be replacing it, and I'm using that word very, very loosely. But yeah, I think the fact that they're casting a character from book 2 is very much like they're committed to this thing.
They're going for it.
Yeah. I still want to see Lovecraft Country, so
Yeah, that's good, right?
yes.
That'll be interesting.
So, but other than
Okay.
that,
Stuff going forward.
stuff is going forward.
And Julie's looking forward to season 2 of Britannia, which was an interesting show too. Look forward to it all. And Leslie says that anything Martin does that isn't writing the next 2 books is rage-inducing, which is a fair opinion.
I'm too apathetic for rage about George
Yeah,
R.
I
R. Martin.
think that's it. Like, do what you want, Martin. It's fine.
Yeah, at this
Anyway,
point, it's too
Thanks
hard.
a lot, Cheryl.
Yeah, I will
let's
see you
bring
all.
in Josh Hill for our ongoing series, A Song of Dan and Josh, a show where Josh Hill and I walk through each and every chapter of A Song of Ice and Fire, George R. R. Martin's lengthy, fantastical, as yet unfinished magnum opus, and break them down. What makes them work? What makes them tick? Why are they great? Or maybe they're not so great sometimes. We have opinions. You're going to hear them. Josh Hill, how are you?
I'm good. Hello, everybody. We're back 2 straight weeks.
Two straight weeks.
And this is an actual book chapter. It's not a short, brief summary
Yeah,
of.
this was a chapter with a capital C
This
and
was
maybe
a
a capital H too.
chapter. It was. But no, I'm ready. Aria.
I remember
Yoren.
like the last chapter we had like John whatever 2 or 3, and it was like half a page of notes, and like look at this one, it's front and back, people,
Front and backish. I got a little bit of a
yeah.
top. There's
Front
not
and-
a whole lot there.
and a
but
backlit. So we're reading Aria 4 from
Yes.
The Clash of Kings. I did forget my book. Sorry, I don't have it here as a prop, but we have lots of notes.
It's in our hearts and
It's
in our
hearts.
minds.
I mean, it was good. This was a pretty juicy chapter. This is
Yeah.
Arya Stark trying to make her way north with, and by the way, she says hi, Julie says hi to you.
Oh, hi, Julie. Hello.
Trying to make her way north to Winterfell with Yoren and the Night's Watch boys, and they come upon a town. They want to stay there for the night. And short version, they get attacked, and there is a battle. And
The gold cloaks.
the Gold Cloaks, led by what the hell's his name? Amory Lort.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah. small character. He's briefly in the show, but like just like a face. Just like, you're gonna play Amory Lord Flyer of Lines? No, that's her name. That kind of thing. But he's a little bigger in the books. What do you think, Josh? What stood out to you about this chapter?
Well, something that you noted right away is kind of like this dichotomy of innocence, where you've got on one hand, it's specifically when they find the dead body in the river, and then a little bit later they're playing in the river.
Yeah, they're like naked. They're like the ones like throwing mud at hot pie.
Yeah, and I mean, we always talk about it. This relates to like real life as much as it can, but this definitely feels like every documentary I've ever seen about a war-torn country, where the kids, because they're the kids, it's hot pie, it's so the kids are just, this is their world. Like, it's not, yeah, it's terrible and they know they're at war, but it's not this grandiose thing that we think of where it's this tragedy where man is at war and we're tearing families apart. If they're like, this is just a reality, and sometimes I want to play in the river even if there's a war going on. It's this innocence of childhood that, despite how war-torn Westeros may be, still exists.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
think
you can't be running for your life all the time.
No.
Like, there are down moments, and the resilience of kids. So yeah, the fact that about in the river, and then Lami's just, but it's not going to stop him from wading in and chucking mud at hot pie for kicks.
Yeah.
I also just, and by the way, that's in a lot of Arya chapters I've noticed. Like, that kind of contrast. It's always her.
Because that's her contrast.
I mean, yeah,
she's a
she's
child
a kid
who will murder you by feeding you your own family in pies. Like, that's Arya. So she is a walking contradiction of, she's a child, but she's also murderous.
Yes, that's
like,
hard-bitten cynic. And
capital
she does,
M.
like, literally kill a couple people in this one.
Yep.
I also laughed another great contrast moment when, so basically the idea is they hole up in a hold fast, which I'm pretty sure is a made-up word for small castle.
Yeah. I was envisioning a panic room most of the time, and then I was like, oh, I get what it is.
I wanted to ask you, like, if the geography of this chapter worked for you, because it was, I recall reading this and not quite, like, getting where things were happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like, did you get where they were in relation to the town and the holdfast and where the gold cloaks were coming from, or how she got out and all that stuff?
Not really. The geography was a little off.
Yeah,
in this one. It was a little
the first time too.
Yeah. Like, how sometimes you watch a movie, they get the shaky cam where you're like chasing after somebody and you don't know exactly where you are. It's very disorienting. And I don't know if that was by design, if he was trying to be disorienting by.
I don't think so.
So, well, I was giving him the benefit of the doubt. So.
Right. I'm guessing no, but I
but I'm with you. It was very confusing.
Maybe we can, if we want to give them the charitable rating, maybe it's supposed to be because of the war. I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe this is pro shaky cam.
The shaky cam chapter.
Exactly. But no, I love this moment where, so, these gold cloaks, so they're on the holdfast and they are climbing the walls to get to them and kill them because they think they're the Brotherhood Without Banners who are harassing the Lannisters, and Bjorn doesn't let them in, so they decide, okay, we're going to breach, we're going to kill them all.
Yeah.
And there's this bit where, I'll just read it. Gendry knocks a helmet off some dude. Underneath, he was bald and scared looking, with missing teeth and a speckly gray beard. But even as she was feeling sorry for him, she was killing him, shouting, "Winterfell, Winterfell," while Hot Pie screamed, "Hot Pie!"
Hot Pie.
beside her as he hacked at the man's scrawny neck.
Could you imagine that's the last thing you ever hear is some dopey kid just clapping and saying "Hot Pie"? Like,
I mean, a dopey kid yelling "Hot Pie" and hacking at your scrawny neck.
that is very much not the worst thing that's going on in that. Just the last thing that you ever hear is "hot pie, hot pie, hot pie." I'm just like, what did I do to deserve this?
I mean, but again,
death?
if we're talking about like a thing between
Of all the
like,
noble deaths to get in Westeros, that's what you get.
if we're talking about like contrast between like hard-bitten cynicism and kind of the war documentary and kind of funny innocence,
Marx
that's
Brothers.
got to be up there.
Yeah.
Like there's this terrifying, and I like that Martin, like he doesn't demonize the other side. Like this
No.
guy he's scared. He's bald and he has a scrawny neck, scared looking, missing teeth, specky gray beard, and he's being killed by this tubby little child who's hacking him and yelling "hot pie."
Yeah.
Like that is horrifying and that is funny.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not necessarily the scene from Saving Private Ryan where he's stabbing the guy in the heart. Like that's
No.
heartbreaking. This is not.
I mean, we don't know this guy.
No,
The point
but-
is there's interesting currents of
There is.
I mean, she doesn't hate this person, but she's a kid. She's doing what she has to do. Like she's feeling. That line is great. Even as she was feeling sorry for him, she was killing him.
That is, the overarching point. That is Arya's part of her arc. Like at some point, she kind of grows out of, even though she feels bad. It's like then it turns into a vengeance thing,
Right.
where she's like, I'm specifically going to Dexter people. Whereas you're a bad person, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, she turns it off a bit. And this, I mean, I think the part of this is like bad and good. I mean, these guys are just on the opposite side.
Yeah.
Emery Lorch is a dick. He clearly. He has this this one line after they decide to storm the holdfast. Storm the walls and kill them all, so Amy said in a bored voice. Just adding in bored voice. Like, you just got to twist that little knife. Like, obviously he has to go. And I think he does in the books. I forget exactly how they get him.
Spoilers, Dan.
I mean, whatever.
Look at that. I believe the entire point of this segment is I have never read the books, and you're going to tell me what happens in future chapters? This is your...
Okay, fine. Amory Lorch is going to die, or maybe he won't. Maybe he'll become king of the Seven Kingdoms. I doubt it. Anyway, so let's talk about the moral decisions here.
Yeah.
So they're in the holdfast. I also like this bit where she sees the torches coming through. I throw the description in this one.
Okay.
For the moment, she has to, like... I love these, like, childish touches. When the army's coming... She has to put her toes into holes between stones to, like, stand over and look over the wall.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a very, like, kid thing to do. For a moment, she thought the town was full of lantern bugs, which is dumb for lightning bugs. Then she realized they were men with torches galloping between the houses.
Yeah.
I also loved the description when they're kind of in the town, just kind of walking around it. In the daytime, she's a little unsettled. A sudden clap of sound made Arya reach for needle, but it was only a shutter banging in the wind after the open river shore, the closest of the town, unnerved her. You know, John was in a ghost town last chapter, Beyond the Wall, and this is another one. They come here and the people are just gone. I thought it was creepier here, though. I love, like, spooky horror during the daytime.
Yeah.
And just walking around and just being like, where is everybody? That shutter just banged. Like, what the hell was that?
Well, there's a more natural implication of creepiness beyond the wall because you're going literally beyond the wall. Like that right there is creepy in of itself.
That's a good point.
Whereas this is more cabin in the woodsy type of thing, or like Dracula's castle, where even in the middle of the day you're not safe, and that's the greater terror. Where beyond the wall, it's always kind of just gray and
it's always like a
snowy
low level anyway.
Yeah, we're here. It's like there's no escape, even in even in sunlight.
Anyway, they hold up on the holdfast, and Yoren's idea is, look, even if they come for us, we're the Night's Watch. The Night's Watch doesn't get messed with. Just we're Switzerland. We don't get involved, and people know that. And Arya's thinking like, I don't know, we should move on. Obviously, she's correct.
Plot twist.
Yeah, plot she ends up living. And there's a moment where Amory Lorch is trying to kind of get them to open up the doors and say like, if you're not the Brotherhood Without Banners who is attacking the Lannister lines, just open them up, let us in, we will treat with you, we'll deal with you. And Yoren doesn't. He's like, nope, I think I'm going to take my chances with that, and that's when they attack. Should he just open the doors?
Maybe.
Yeah,
I mean, like...
I mean, yeah, it's possible that maybe they could have saved it, or I think his perspective is that you're going to hurt us no matter what.
That's kind of where I was coming from. You're in a no-win situation. In that
we
point.
might as well have
if
walls
somebody
between you and me.
if somebody's coming that is your enemy, you're not going to be like, maybe we can talk this out. Come on in. I'll brew some tea. We'll sit down and have a chat. Usually not how that works out.
I also loved the description of when they're climbing over the wall to get into the holdfast. There's a description of just a hand shooting up, and Arya sees this like disembodied hand climbing up. It's such a great image. Again, it's got that childish thing of like it looks like its own kind of thing. It's not like attached to anything. And then she hacks at it, cuts with the fingers, and it falls back down. I think this chapter's just great. I really liked a lot of it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember an Arya chapter I haven't liked.
Yeah,
so
she's
it's definitely the
a good time.
strongest of the batch, but similar feelings.
We also got so after they're losing, not Amory. Yoren's like, look, we're losing, run, like get out of here.
Yeah,
and it's another geography thing. Okay, let me see if I can get my head around this. They're in a holdfast, which
Yes.
is a castle with a wall, not a big wall, but like a small one.
Sure.
There's a barn or something, and in the barn there is a trap door that leads through a tunnel outside the walls that she uses to escape. They have put a wagon over the trap door where Jack and Hagar and the other two criminals are in.
Yes.
The barn catches fire, which is danger and bad. And then Arya makes a decision, as she's trying to get out the trap door, she gives Jack an axe to free himself from the burning wagon, because it's on fire, they're going to die. Okay. Like, A, did you get all of that geography when you were reading it?
No.
Okay.
I did not.
I
tried.
I had to think about it. Like, okay, how does this laid out? Maybe it would have worked better on TV. Because, do you recall this scene in TV?
I don't know.
It does happen, like nothing like this.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, they just get accosted on the road, and there's no battle. And the-
Wow, that's like we ran out of budget. We're just gonna have this be a conversation on the side of the road.
This was back when they had a budget.
Yeah.
Like they couldn't afford this. Now they could have for season 7, 8, 6. They would have gone whole hog. But back in season 2, no, it was like they're reading it. We can't do this. Where are we gonna find a holdfast? What even is a holdfast? So they just had it's just on the road. They come out, they kill the one kid, and then they take them all prisoner. And this it's quite a bit more elaborate.
Yes, and a little bit more confusing with the geography, but
Yeah, I was thinking. I
the
wonder.
general point was taken. Like
Yeah.
I got what they did, but it was the moving around was
But anyway, about Arya's choice. Should she have given the axe to Jack and Hagar and his two criminal buddies to free themselves from the burning barn? They're locked up in a wagon.
I think this version of Arya absolutely does that, and it makes sense because she's not the hardened killer that or assassin that we know her to later be. And I still think maybe she gives them the axe even later on because
Sure.
as hardcore as Arya was, right up until the end, not that she dies, but like right up until the end of the show, and so far in the books, everything that I know about Arya, she still has a heart. Like there's still
Yeah.
humanity inside of her. There's a
Always.
little bit of a soul left. And I feel like that even later, if this would happen later on, she still throws down the axe and it's like, I'm not going to get you out of this, but I'm not going to not get you out of this. Like,
Yeah,
it's up
I
to you.
mean,
Get yourself out.
Her hate is very specific and personalized. She
Extremely
has people she hates.
Oh, yes.
Speaking of that, by the way, there's a scene. I'm not sure if you recall this. It's it's early on the show, but that is not in the books that they add, where Yoren, who is the Night's Watch guy, who's kind of taking her under her wing and trying to get her north, has a conversation with her where he talks about his obsession with a dude who murdered his brother, and just says his name was Willem. And I went to bed every night and just said Willem, 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 Willem. It's supposed to be the genesis of her kill list.
Okay.
And it's just not in the book at all. Like, it's not here at all. I'm going to doubt you remember that scene from the show in the first place.
I don't,
Do you
no.
think something like that should have been in the books? Because really, there is no genesis or, like, point, oh, that's where the kill list started in the books.
No, because I think the kill list is kind of the MacGuffin. Like, it doesn't really matter to her story. It just kind of drives her story, but it's not. Her ultimate goal isn't to kill everybody that's on the list, like a video game or something. I mean, that's what
I
she
don't
thinks
know,
her
isn't
goal is, but that's not what her character arc is about.
Okay.
It's just there to drive us to the end wherever she ends up in the books. Like we saw where she ended up in the show, but I don't think that the kill list needs a genesis. I think it naturally happening and occurring, and you're just like, oh, there's the kill list. Makes sense because it's not the main point of her character. It's not the
I hear
defining
ya.
quality that we're like, oh, this is Arya kill list. There you go, 1, 2. It's just kind of naturally part of her character, one of the many elements of her.
Yeah. I was surprised that wasn't in the books when I went back and read it, because, it is a good scene in the show.
Yeah,
And, it makes
I
sense.
don't remember.
and
I'm
it
taking
did-
your
I
word
know.
for it, but
It was. Completely, it was good. And it reminded me of a time when, like, oh, they were, like, actually adding stuff back then rather than kind of cutting a lot of stuff, which they will do, before long. Okay, any other thoughts before we get into vocab?
no vocab, my favorite part.
Okay, great. This is important. Everybody, vocabulary lesson. Okay, what we learned from this chapter.
We do one of those things that was it Sesame Street or whatever, where it's the two like magnetic balls, and you're like sward,
Yeah. Oh,
sward,
you got the sword.
sward.
And Julie, by the way, thinks you are correct about Arya having that heart of innocence.
Thank you,
still
Julie.
to this day.
Julie gets it. Julie knows.
Julie gets it. I agree too. Me too. Sward. Do you know what a sward is?
What is a sward,
A
Dan?
sward is an expanse of short grass, as in she burst into the grassy sward behind the pebbled shore.
God, these
This
are
is good.
These
I
are
mean,
phenomenal. No, they're good. I'm not.
We're writers. We should build a vocabulary. I still can't get this. Postern. A back or side entrance. Postern gate. Just postern.
Postern.
Okay.
What don't you get about postern? Postern,
I
like how
just
to
can't
say
retain
it, or
it.
oh,
I keep seeing it. I
Postern
keep
gate.
not remembering what it means.
oh, okay.
Okay. Back or side entrance. Postern gate. And hauberk, a shirt of mail. Probably don't need that one that much. But I'm going to use sward at some point.
Sward's good.
Yeah.
Of the three, 1 out of 3. Sward.
Out of 3.
I'm down for that.
Postern's not bad either. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll be back next week with more Game of Thrones discussion, more genre analysis, more news, more coverage, and more A Song of Ben and Joshua. I believe another Tyrion chapter.
Oh yes.
All right. Thanks for watching. I'll see y'all later. Bye.